Hello and welcome to CAN TV Conversations. I'm Melody Guernsey, and today we're talking about bettering and developing our Chicago communities. Joining me today is Asiaha Butler. She's the co-founder and now CEO of Resident Association of Greater Englewood. Asiaha, thank you so much for your time today.
Sure, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Let's get started. First, tell me a little bit about RAGE for short.
Yeah, so Resident Association of Greater Englewood, also known as RAGE, is a very grassroots organization that I co-founded back in 2010. And really, it was a very organic way that we started. I was doing some volunteer work in the community and started going to a few meetings with the city and with urban planners, and noticed that, there were no voices from the community at these tables. And so I really started a project first, which was Docs and Dialogue, where we were doing movies, and I was meeting a lot of residents in the area. And I really just posed the question of I really believe that we need our own table, we need our own association for the betterment of this community. Our philosophy is that the people that could truly change the community are from the community and live in the community. And so, I talked to about 12 other people. They were like, okay, cool, what are we gonna do? We didn't know what we were gonna do, but we started listening to our neighbors in terms of what was important to them, and that's how we shaped our work. And so most of it is rooted in community safety. It's rooted in community ownership, housing, economic development, supporting our businesses, all of that wrapped up into the work of RAGE.
You said 2010, that was 10 years ago. What do you feel has changed in Englewood, and what are you still working to do?
Yeah, so I think one thing that, your listeners or anyone who are, watching this should know that it was a culture shift. I always talk about my work as community development of the mind. And I think, first of all, before we could do anything or change anything tangible, we have to really tap into the intangible things, which is the way people felt about their community. And so I started blogging and I started using social media to really capture all the positive stories. And it built a culture that, now 10 years now, people enter into community or do community work very differently in Englewood now because of the culture that we've built in RAGE. And so some of those things have been tangible things that you can see and touch and say, oh, RAGE has something to do with that. But some of it was really just getting the residents more activated to be the change agents that we know that they are here in the community. And so that's been the root or the heartbeat of our work throughout the last 10 years.
But tell me how you wanted to do the change through the culture. I mean, there's so many other avenues you could have done, and you've been successful doing it that way. What made you really tap into the residents, as you said, and the community members to go that way in the culture shift?
Yeah, the mind shift and the culture shift. I think everything that I do is usually because of my own personal, experience. And so my own personal experience was, I bought this house and I'm sorry about the background noise. I bought this house in Englewood, and I had so many problems on my block. And people were shooting. It was dice games. It was a point that we were ready to leave, and we're going to leave. I mean, actually made plans to relocate to Atlanta. And so I looked out that window and I saw these kids, and I was like, I told my husband, I'm like, I can't leave. I have to do something. It just can't be me just working downtown and coming home and seeing this and not adding value. And so the mind shift changed for me. Like initially I was here thinking, oh, this community is horrible. Look at what I see every day. And I think once I shifted that and started seeing, another side of the community, another truth of this area, and start really looking at our assets and how we can build on the assets, it became very contagious that most people were like, yeah, you're right. The media only focuses on negativity. A vacant lot doesn't mean that, this is horrible. It can be something very beautiful, which is what we did across the street, which is my virtual background. So it was really me going through those own steps of looking at Englewood very differently, thinking about, my family is rooted here, my grandfather, my mom, my dad, they met here. And I'm like, this is home. And so what can I do to contribute to a place where I'm rooted to? And so many other residents felt the same way. And so that just took our journey and just, so far and just continue to evolve.
What was the process when you guys said, where do we start to better our community?
Yeah. Well, initially when I just looked out and I saw the young person, I just said, maybe I start on my block, right? And so let me start engaging the people here. And, I was one of those neighbors. I just go to work, I come back, I didn't talk to anybody. And so once we just started being friendly with the people on the block, that kind of started to shift how the block was. And so I kind of use that same analogy too when I started volunteering. I didn't want to say, hey, I'm coming here to do this. I just said, use me as you see fit. And when I started volunteering, I did realize a lot of folks, our baby boomers, I love them, was running a lot of the organizations here. And they were trying to reach young people. And I saw that it was huge disconnect. And I think, as a Gen Xer, I was like, I think I know how to bridge this gap. And so I bridged that gap with a film series. And then with the film series, more residents came out and they were like, oh, I want to be involved. How can I do this? And so we kind of did that first. And then that's when we started having a conversation about rage. And then our first point of action was, let's just do a community meeting and find out what the priorities are. And then that's what we will work on. And so we did that. And so happened, it was around election time. And so most of the people were like, let's just do a candidate forum. And I was like, that makes sense. I vote. I've never been to a candidate forum. For folks who may not know Chicago, it's 50 aldermen. And in Englewood, we had 6 at the time. And none of them felt the need to do a forum for the residents here. And so we did forums. That was our first action. And that blew up. People were like, oh my God, I'm so happy I can hear the candidates. And what I'm so proud about is that out of those 6 aldermen who were running, 5 of them went into a runoff. And most people attribute that runoff to our candidate forums because they said they never knew who they were, even the incumbents. So some incumbents lost their seats, and we wasn't a political group. We just wanted to educate people on who was running and representing our community at city council. And so I think that buzz that happened after that helped us shape other initiatives that we will work on.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the film series that, as you said, kind of jumped everything off?
Yeah, Docs and Dialogue. I love Docs and Dialogue. I miss it. Docs and Dialogue. I mean, honestly, I was volunteering for a local group here, and they were having another meeting with WVON and a very fancy part of Kenny King College, and they put me in the black box as a volunteer and said, "Hey, facilitate this conversation. Watch this movie with the community." And then I was like, wait, and it was such a nice experience. And I said, we need to keep doing this. We need to take our time. So what I did, I just went on Amazon. I bought, back in the day it was Craigslist. So I bought a huge screen and I borrowed a projector. I started researching documentaries, and I thought about documentaries that were really relatable to young people as well as our elders, because the whole purpose was to bridge the gap between them both. And then I made it very youthful, and so that the young people had a voice, and then our elders can also have a voice. And that really just kind of helped this concept of the village. It takes all of us. It's not a separate elders are the ones who are making a change or young people are the ones who are doing it. It really takes everybody. And so that really became this phenomenon in Englewood. And we looked at the assets like our parks, our libraries, our local, community centers, used those spaces, created a safe space for young people on Saturday. And Docs and Dialogue happened for about 3 years before Rage got started.
Is that something that you're considering bringing back?
We keep getting asked about bringing it back. It took a lot of time. Now, this is all while I'm working full time, doing it on a Saturday. It's definitely some documentaries out that will definitely could work for Docs and Dialogue. I just think like now with COVID, we haven't been doing a lot of gatherings. So I'm not sure, but we do movie nights at the Rage Plaza. We put the projector right on the wall. We've done Beyonce and things like that to kind of stabilize the area. Like if it's rowdy in the area, it's a really nice way. Sports we put up. So not really Docs and Dialogue, but still using film as a way to connect people, because it's that's just another way of art that you can get anybody of all ages to interact with. So possibly.
Aisha, I remember reading something about kind of what you just said, that you worked full time. And if I remember correctly, you're very successful at it. And it was a career path that you were in for a long time. Can you just tell us a little bit about what made you change to do this community work full time and kind of how you brought those skills into what you're doing now?
Yeah, I used to work at the Institute of Real Estate Management. People know it as IREM. I was there for 16 years. I started in 2000, and it was an association. Now, most people say, "Oh, okay, you're into real estate," and now I wasn't into real estate at the time. It was an association for property managers. So I was an association professional for 16 years, and so what I learned from IREM was that people who have a shared interest will join an association. It's an association for everything. It's a dental association, a medical association. And so I said, why couldn't it be a resident association? And the things that we have in common is this community and uplifting this community. And if that's not what you're into, you don't join the association. And so I just use that same concept from Michigan Avenue and brought it right back to Englewood. Now, I wasn't thinking that my like technical skills of like Word and email and all that could translate over, but it did. And so because we use social media so heavily when we first got started, because we didn't have an office, everybody who had organizations was like, who is this group? Because they're so active online. And so, and I didn't have a choice because I was at work. I would have to do it at night. I would have to schedule my posts, use Hootsuite. So I was doing all of that to get out information to residents, any flyers I got, events or jobs or anything that was a resource or opportunity for residents here, we would share, as well as changing the negative narrative. So you will never see us post how many people got shot, or you'll never hear us post like, something really horrific that happens. And so that really also put us in a realm of Chicago, where when people start Googling, as I would say, we're Googleicious. You Google us, you will see Rage, and you're like, oh, I was looking for a story about A, B, and C, and Rage popped up, or I was looking for a group to talk to. And that was one thing that kind of set us apart from a lot of the organizations here. And then I just taught it to them. Like once they saw it, I started helping other organizations. This is what you do. Start a Facebook page, do an Instagram, do a Twitter. Not that I'm like a marketing maven, but I just knew I had to do that because I was confined to a 9-to-5 job. And then after really being at that job for so long, and the community work just kept increasing, and the demand from either me to be on councils or me to be to speak somewhere, it just became too much. I couldn't balance them both. And then I met I would say like a venture philanthropist who said, if you could do this on, full time, would you do it? And I was like, of course. And I was really scared. I was like, I don't know what to do. And he said, well, I will fund you to do this as you figure it out. And when he did that for 2 years, I was like, wow. And I got really into the work. And that's when I decided to convert one of my apartments into our office and try to be a little bit more, I guess, like a real job. It was now a real job. And then after that, like 2 years of me kind of figuring out what I wanted to do, this was definitely what I wanted to continue to do. I had built so many relationships with funders that I was able to make sure that I had a salary and now able to get staff, and we could continue to do what we do and do a little bit even more than what we were doing before.
That's such a great opportunity. I'm sure we all wish so would come along. And what did you learn in those 2 years when you realized your time shifted and your focus shifted to, just strictly the association? What did you feel like you learned?
I do feel like I learned that first, it really helped me reflect on Rage structure and how Rage needs to be to move forward. I didn't have that time to do that. We were just like moving along. And so I had an executive coach who, we wasn't a 501c3, and everybody was saying, you need to be a 501c3, and I was like, why? We're grassroots. We're like, we don't want to do that. We don't want funding. But as our programs, it helped me really develop some of our programs and really have more of a strategic way of doing the work. We were already very strategic, but sometimes our work would just be a response to residents. So if a resident had issues, sometimes we would do an initiative because of what we heard from residents. Now it really helped me say, okay, this is what we need here. This is the staffing that we need to keep going. These are the relationships we need to cultivate and keep building. This is how we need to hit certain areas of Englewood. So it did give me a good time to really fix up kind of the back office of Rage and really help our structure. And so now, we became a 501c3 in 2019, and we have staff now, and now we're looking at, a real office eventually. But it did give me a time to do that. And it also allowed me time to build relationships with folks in and out of the community. Working 9 to 5 downtown, it was a lot of meetings I had to miss. It was a lot of opportunities that I wasn't able to go to. And so it just gave me that flexibility of time to really, really be creative and innovative with this work.
So Isha, if we can fast forward to now, your most recent project, which is the Rage Economic Uplift Project, if you can tell us a little bit about that and kind of what your goal is with it.
Yeah, the REUP is for short. I love an acronym. that was my profession for so long. I was in a world of acronyms. So really, the REUP is it started as kind of a reflection point. And I think a lot of my work is usually a reflection point. It was work we were already doing that was really trying to help the economics and the economy here in Englewood. But it wasn't as deep as we could go. And I think after the looting and the civil unrest, and we really reflected and looked at our businesses in our community and really saw that we really didn't have business corridors, we really didn't have Black-owned businesses, it took me on a journey to really think about how could Rage be more intentional to support our Black-owned and resident-owned businesses. And so I tapped into another mentor of mine, Steve Rogers. He's a former professor at Harvard and also at Kellogg. And I was like, this wasn't really our avenue, but I really want to know how we can really work towards our Black-owned businesses to create a more local economy and create more jobs in the community. Because all of it is rooted, when you think about all the ills of the community, it goes back to like our economy. And so that gave me the opportunity to do a lot of more research in terms of looking at Little Village, Chinatown, and other neighborhoods of other ethnic groups, and looking at their public safety and looking at their crime rates and figuring out how we can get Englewood to a place where we have a higher percentage of Black-owned businesses that's more reflective of our demographics here. And then he was able to tap into some venture capitalists who we shared our story with, and they were like, okay, we will seed you guys to do this. And the idea was for us to purchase commercial property, rehab those commercial properties, and then actually get Black-owned businesses inside of there to hire locally. And so once we had that opportunity, we thought about, oh, we was doing jobs on the block. We were doing housing work. We are developing housing. All of this is a part of the economic upliftment of our people here in Englewood. And so all of this now will culminate into the re-up. And so we've been doing soft launches of the re-up, really looking at stats and data and sharing stats and data around our economy and really having more conversations around our Black-owned businesses and now shopping for commercial properties so that we're looking to purchase and rehab. So a lot of our work now is like, how do you revise a commercial corridor from within? Because most people come from outside, want to revise, and then they're gone. It's a little bit different when you are rooted in a community and then now you say, you know what, let's evolve to development. It's done very differently. And so we're really excited about it and looking for the program to just flourish. And we got jobs on the block coming up already. We are in conversations around a building that we're looking to purchase already, and just, evolving.
Well, we definitely hope to share in your evolvement. And can you just tell us where someone can go to get more information about the re-up project?
Well, it's not that much out. I would say follow us on social media right now. Rage is the best place to go for any of our information, rageenglewood.org. We've been doing soft launches, just like information about it, what it's going to be, kind of stakeholder meetings so folks can know it before we say it publicly. But we did do somewhat of a soft launch on our last village meeting, and I believe that's on YouTube. If not, it's definitely on a link on our website that you can find it.
Okay. Well, my thanks to Asiaha Butler for joining me today to have this important discussion. And thank you for watching CAN TV Conversations. I'm Melody Guernsey. Have a good day.